Okay guys, let's go. Number one, here we go. We're gonna talk about shooting direction. The first thing you wanna think about when you walk into a location is direction. Which way are we gonna shoot this? And for much of my early years of shooting, I was shooting up against walls. And the result was, it was creating these really flat images. One of the things that we're trying to do is create 3D images from a 2D screen. You're looking at a TV screen or a phone screen. It's a 2D screen. We're trying to create depth. We're trying to create an interest in the image, some contrast, some depth, some interest in the frame. And shooting up against a wall is you're making it so hard on yourself, or at least that's what I did for so long as a brand new filmmaker. So how should we change this? Well, the best way to do this is to shoot into the L of the room, or shoot to the angles, because angles always have more depth than a flat wall. Whenever we shoot into the L of the room, it also creates really interesting lines. And for most of the time, those lines are pointing towards our subject and creating interest and they're showing people what to look at in the frame. Ideally, what we'd want to have is our key light, or our motivated light source, which in this case inside of a building would be a window. We'd want to have that on the long side of the L. When the windows are on the long side of the L, it gives us great motivation, a motivated light, to bring in that key to light our subject. Remember what we talked about with motivation being a really important factor to make our images seem realistic and natural. We don't want it to feel saucy or feel like we know that there's a source, we know that the light is coming from somewhere unnatural. We want the light to feel like it's coming from a natural source or an obvious source, so that we can focus not on where the light's coming from, but we can focus on the story. This also helps us to hide the light that we're using to key our subject. We will be able to see the windows, and our brain naturally thinks, yeah, that's where the light source is coming from. But we can control that exposure, bring that exposure level down. We could also put shears on the windows so that that exposure is controlled. But then we can bring in our key that is the actual light that's going to light our subject. This key will not be seen in the frame. We don't want that light to be seen in the frame because it's going to be overexposed. So one of the best ways to do this is to light through the window that you cannot see. That way, the light in the windows that we can see is very controlled and we're exposing for that. But the light in the window that we cannot see, our light, maybe our LED or whatever light that we're using, is blasting in through there, and it's not overexposed because it's not in the frame, and we can control that and have that to whatever exposure we need to be able to light our subject. So you can see why direction is so important. Which direction are you going to shoot? Which L of the room are you going to shoot in? These decisions will either cause you a lot of pain and a lot of work, or they're going to make your life a lot easier.